All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back. So excited to have you. Welcome to the show. Today, we got Colton Adams, and I'm really excited today because he's got some really cool stories, some cool clients he's able to close. And in today's interview, we're going to walk through those things. So we're going to hear your story. I want to hear your story. I want to hear about how you got your first deal, how you got this big Texas Renaissance Festival project. Let's talk about like pricing, marketing, stuff you're doing now, and then so you mentioned, you met with the city Conroe and stuff like that. Big contracts, big wins. I want to hear about them. Obviously you're a cloud panel user. You're in our Facebook group, so we get to hear about them, see them, and see some of the examples. But first, take the floor for a few minutes. Tell me about who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, and then and what's your background. Tell us your story.
Okay. Well, I live out here in the country in Centerville, Texas, and this whole journey started, buying a little action camera for just a little holiday trip that we had, and it turned into me figuring out that I could use that camera to do some 360 tours, and so I started diving in online onto YouTube and found Cloud Pano, joined the group, and then really one of the first businesses I talked to was Cell Geeks phone repair. I walked in and told them what I could do for them as far as like getting them on Google Street View, and they were excited about it. Got all 3 stores. I'm pretty much the first person I talked to, and that really pushed me to get to where I'm at now.
That's awesome. So you just cold called, walked in and said, "Hey, what's up, guys? I can get you on Google Street View." Tell us that story. Tell us that first, like, what the heck did you say? Who'd you talk to? Give us some details.
Well, I don't do any cold calling. I haven't done one call yet.
Okay.
All I do is I just go business to business looking for the owner. And if the owner's not there, I try to get whoever's in front of me excited about what I'm showing them,
Yeah.
or think it's cool enough that maybe they want to bring it to their business owner.
Yeah.
But the first one I walked into, and I was actually there to get my son's iPad fixed because it was broken. And I was like, heck, I might as well just ask him, hey, would you be interested in this? A 360 view of your business. We provide HTML encoding to put on your website. We can add put your business into Google Street View so that people can see it that way. And I explained to him the benefits of Google and how what Google wants to see is basically everything. So the more you show Google, the more they want to show your business to clients online. And from that point on, he was like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." And then he was like, "Oh, we got 2 other stores." And from there, I was like, "All right, let's do it."
Cool. Awesome. That's great. Love that story. So essentially you turned in like just a basic like conversation of like the iPad, like into like a sale, kind of what happened.
Exactly.
Cool. And then what'd you price those when you first get started?
Oh man, that was the hardest part. I mean, as far as like thinking about it, the pricing normally is we start off at $95, just flat, and that included 5 images, and then every image after that was $20.
Okay, gotcha. So just like breaking in the door, getting your feet wet, getting some sales, right? It's kind of how it goes when you first get started. Cool. Awesome.
Yes.
Good. So I see you got the American flag in the background. You got a drone back there. It looks like a 360 camera, a couple things. You kind of got the whole setup. I like that. I was telling them before the call, it's like America. I love America. Fantastic. So what all do you do besides just 360? Do you do anything else for your clients?
For the clients, I do. I mean, I've done plenty, especially with Texas Renaissance. That's where it started being more than just 360.
Yeah.
And technically, I didn't even charge them for the extra work that I did. I have a video that I made for them. And it was just me playing around. I like editing, and I put together just a dramatic video of the drone flying through the trees and some sky views above the arena where people fight and stuff. But at the Texas Renaissance Festival, it was mainly just all 360. I mean, it was a lot. It was 220 scans.
220. Cool. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that deal. how'd the idea come about? How did you get connected with the right person? What was their title? Like, was it the owner of the thing, or the, like, what give us the scoop, give us the story on that project? Because a lot of folks don't know what the Texas Renaissance Festival is. I'm from Houston. I know it's a big deal. So let's talk about what is the Texas Renaissance Festival? Like, what is this thing? It's a whole thing. It's a big old operation. Okay. So tell us what that is first, so people have a better idea, and then tell us how you got the project, or how you got in front of the right person.
The Texas Renaissance Festival is a 30-acre medieval times festival where people are dressed up as warriors, fairies, Halloween costumes. Everybody's just walking around being crazy and being, aside from the usual day-to-day that they go through, this is where they go to let their freak out, or so to speak. But
yeah, it is a warp back in time. You go back in time, you step onto the ground, you're like, have I just gone back in time? Like, everyone is wearing medieval clothes, and I don't even know what's happening around me right now. I feel like I'm in a different universe.
It's the largest Renaissance festival also in the United States. And the funniest thing about it is how I got there was I told him online. I reached out to him on Facebook. Okay. I told him, hey, I do 360 photography and drone work, and I'd like to come out there and take some shots for free. So I went in there and I met the marketing director, and it was all just hey, what's up? Just sign in. You can come in and do whatever you want, and that was fine. So I went in there and I went to an area and created a 360 view of the Parthenon area.
Okay.
And then some weeks went by, and then I sent him an email with the Parthenon, which he never looked at. So the next time I came into the office, I showed him what I had done. And then his whole attitude changed. Like, really? As far as looking at me, he's like, oh man, I thought you were just coming in there to, just take some shots or whatever, just basically kid stuff, really. And then I showed it to him, and he lit up. He's like, well, we got to have this.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. So this is a really interesting story. So I get asked a lot of times, people that come to Cloud Piano, they're signing in, they're coming Pro Plus, they're starting their business off, or, they're maybe they have a business already, but they want to add on VR and 360 photography into their business because it's a service, right? So you can add on a service into what you're doing now pretty easily, right? So, quoting a service doesn't require any, I don't have to buy a bunch of products. I don't have to buy 10,000 units of something just to get started and manufacture. I just pitch. I pitch service, right? So it's kind of what you did. But I always get asked, hey, Zach, that first customer, what should I do? How should I go about it? And really, like, I always say the same thing. It's like, what do they need? Like, what can you provide them of value that they need, or they want, or they like, so you can build enough rapport so you can sell to them, right? Like, so you can't really sell to somebody with no rapport. It's just not, it's totally, if they're detached, so then the money is also detached from you. So we at Cloud Piano, we do content, we make great software, we do all this stuff that's associated with building rapport and help you guys have success. This interviews are of same thing. It helps us do that. Well, you shot at the location for free, which I have heard a lot of users who have done this. They go to a big project or a big possible project. They take some photos for free so they can show it as their pitch. Like, hey, here's what it is. Like, it's visual product, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So is that
it's always best to show them. It's always best to show them their business as well. So if you walk into a place and they're even moderately interested, I will go ask them, hey, can I go grab my camera and take a shot? That way I can send it to you in an email, as a proposal. Because, showing them something else, they may have a different idea, whether it's a car dealership or a cell phone store. Yeah. Seeing what they have in 360, I think, is probably also it's a good deal breaker. It makes or breaks what you got.
Cool. That's a good point. So you're showing exactly what you're going to get, and it's their product, their service, their thing. That makes total sense to me. We're always thinking about that. How do we give a relevant piece of content or a relevant example to a potential prospect? And, if the guy sells this, he sells trucks, I got to show him trucks, right? And I can't show him, go-karts, It's just like that's my analogy. I guess I'm thinking off the top of my head, but you get it. That's cool. So you showed him the Pantheon.
Yeah,
So tell me this though. You said you came back up. I'm going to kind of dig into the story a little bit more. So you came back a few weeks later and you went to the office. What's the story there? Did you go back in and say, "Hey, is the marketing director here again?" Or how'd that meeting come about?
well, so it was the marketing director that responded to me on Facebook, and he was my first contact coming into the office.
Yeah.
Uh, so essentially, he let me in, and we didn't have too many words about what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I just came in there and did my work, and then left. By the time I left, they had already left. So I've been coming back to the Renaissance Festival pretty much every weekend before it opened.
Okay.
And eventually, when I ran into him again, I just tried to start up a conversation and then to show him what I had been doing. And that's where it really changed tide there.
Got it. Okay, so what I'm trying to connect the dots for our people that are listening is like you went out for free, you created this photo, this example, right? Then you wanted to get it in front of them somehow, right? So and you were already on location, you were doing something else, some other project. Why were you out there? I guess it's a good question.
I was going out there to do some more free work.
Okay. Okay. So
Right.
you're out there just.
Well, I was just building my portfolio. I want to show people online, like on my website, hey, check out this video that we made. Check out this 360 tour that we made. So whether or not he chose to use our service, we would have a large name with with their 360 tour on our website, whether or not it be the full scale like we completed for them, or whether it be a small one.
Got it. Cool. So you're out there. It's like, I want to have some cool tours so I can show my own website. That makes sense. You
Right.
got to put in the work, right? Go out there and make something cool. So you're trying to use that big brand that is at least in this area of Texas Renaissance Festival. Is like, this is like on his website. Well, cool. That's awesome. So even if it wasn't a customer, it was still kind of a social proof or lever for later marketing. So I get it. I understand the mission. Cool. So, okay. So then you show it to them. You show them on your phone, or you show them on your laptop, or how'd you show it to them? What was the demonstration like? Because you had to get his attention, right? So you got to have attention to sell somebody. So tell me about that. Like, you just open the laptop up and show it to them, or how'd that go?
I just walked in and just asked him how he was doing, and
Yeah.
I said, hey, did you get a chance to see my email? And he told me no, that he didn't have time. And then I was like, well, hey, we'll check out this tour that I made out here. And it was on my phone. So I just handed him my phone. And it's all casual conversation, nothing about me. I've never been a salesman. I've never been able to be a salesman.
Yeah.
So it all starts with a very generic conversation. And then as soon as I put it in front of them, then they know what I'm about. And I just let the tour do the talking for me, really.
Yeah, cool. I've heard that a lot before. Guys just say, hey, it's a visual product. You just show it to them. Like, here it is. Here's what it looks like. They go, oh, okay, I get it. And they start negotiating pricing after that point. Once they got to understand that did you see, this happens to me. Do you see that their brain kind of like go get creative on them and like start thinking about all the ways they could use it? Did that happen with your meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the meeting I had in Conroe. Yes. Was it yesterday? I believe it was yesterday. The meeting I had, their brains were going nuts trying to think about, what they could use my service for.
Awesome.
It was they were kept throwing stuff at me, and I had to say, hey, well, don't talk me up too much. I don't want to get too excited about it.
That's good.
But well, because it was a big deal, and
I
think pretty soon I'm going to actually have a meeting with the mayor because they're going to set me up with that.
Nice.
So yeah, it can be nerve-wracking first starting out, not, going and talking to people about what you're doing. But I don't know, somehow it works out. If you just keep going and you don't mind talking to people, even if you're nervous, once you show them that what you got, and that just leads the way for you, honestly.
Yeah.
For me in particular.
Cool. I like that. That's true. I mean, a lot of boils down to having conversations. Like, it's just a function of, you want to have success, want to make sales, make relationships. It's not about selling. It's not about pricing. It's not about photo editing and all this other garbage. You know what it's about? It's about just talking to people, man. Just talking to them. Human being conversation. I like that a lot. It's good. So if you're wondering out there, what do I do? Just go talk to somebody. That's it. Don't overthink it. Well, cool.
Yeah, don't overthink it. I was gonna say, you don't really necessarily, you don't need a cold call, thousands of people. I mean, you know how you feel when random people call you, like just at random times during the day. Most people just hang up. But like I said, I've never done that before, but it's always been my goal at first was the small mom and pop businesses,
Yeah.
businesses that have that, the owners are probably going to be available.
Yep.
Downtown squares are perfect for that. A lot of downtown squares, the owner's heavily involved, and it's not a chain.
Yeah. Great point. Well, you want clear feedback, right? If you're pitching to the gatekeeper, it can be discouraging because they can't say yes anyways, so you want to be able to talk to a business owner. That makes total sense. It's a lot more encouraging when you talk to somebody who can say yes, and they can pull the trigger, and they can pay you, and they have creative ideas of ways they can use your services as well. That's a lot more fun of a conversation. Then it's not a sell or a cool maneuvering of words. It's just like, we're going to make this happen. That's cool. I like that a lot. So let's go back for a second. Okay. So you get this guy to say, this marketer, this reputation rental guy say, I want this. Okay, cool. Now you in your head, it's a 30-acre location. It's a huge project. Yeah. Like, it's just big.
Yeah.
So tell me what happens next. How do you figure out the scope? What'd y'all do? Tell me the story.
Well, some of my answers might be a little like not unprofessional, but so when we were talking about that, he was asking me right up front was, how much would something like this cost?
Right away.
And I told him straight up, to be honest, I said, sir, I've never done a project this big. And one of the things he mentions was, don't, as long as it's not astronomical. I said, sir, I don't know what astronomical means to someone like you. And I'll just say that he shot a number out to me. I guess it was in the thousands, and I told him, I said, no, it's probably a little bit too low.
Yeah.
And I shot a number back, and he said yes, and then we went from there. And honestly, they got a great deal on their tour as far as the size of it was.
Yeah.
But that's how the conversation went. So
Cool.
It was a lot of discovery on my end as well.
I like that.
They ended up paying us over $5,000 for the.
Cool. That's great. I love whenever, well, first off, obviously when someone says, hold on, what's this going to cost me? I want this whole thing. Like, you're in you're in a good spot. You've done the work, you built the rapport, you've followed up correctly. You sent the email, follow from the email, all that great. And now he's like, wanting to know how much it costs. Like, so now we're in closing mode. Like, you don't have to call it that if you don't want to call it that, but that's really what it is. Like, how do we make a transaction go forward at a price that's actually fair and makes sense? And people stumble here a lot. They really get nervous. They'll just take anything, right? If you're new, they'll take whatever, they'll take that $95.
It's okay to be nervous.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. I totally get that. So tell me, like, in that moment, like, he threw out say he said $1,500, whatever he said, I'll pay that. You said that's too low. What gave you the confidence to tell you that was too low?
Just because I knew the time that I would spend doing it. And another thing about me is I have basically 2 other jobs that I'm doing. So this, doing 360 tours with Cloud Pano, you can do it in your spare time and find the business. And when you're home, you can work on the tours and you can actually deliver. But so the money had to match what I was possibly going to lose asking off of work just to get it finished in time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then in your head, you're projecting out this time frame. Like, what was going on in your head, I guess, like when you come to time wise? Yeah, when putting the price to your time, like, how much time did you expect to take, and how much did it really take?
I probably expected it to take about a week at very first.
Yeah.
It ended up taking about a month.
A month? Wow. Okay.
Well, because let me dive into it a little bit. So I work nights I'm an 18-wheeler driver for FedEx. Cool. I work nights, and I also on the weekends I do land sales.
Okay.
So between both of those jobs and doing the editing and doing all the hot spots and the link backs and everything, that's just what it took. It took a long time for me to to stay on the computer and keep going. So when I say a month, couple hours here and there.
Okay. Gotcha. When you had, when obviously you can't edit a tour while you're driving, right? Driving the FedEx truck.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I do love that you have 2 other jobs and you're doing this on the side. It's so cool. So many folks end up doing that. They start on the side and they all of a sudden they get a big project and they're just like, oh snap, I gotta fulfill on this thing. So you didn't outsource any of your creation or editing or anything like that? A lot of folks will do that internally for us, like just outsource to editors.
No, I did not. I did all on my own.
Okay, cool. That's no problem.
We yeah, sorry. We as far as the outsourcing, we tried to hire some photographers to go out and maybe help us out a little bit. I think my price was maybe a little bit too low for them. I was just trying to go, what's a normal day rate for somebody working their normal job, and that's just how I shot it out, because I didn't want to spend too much money on, if I could do it myself, that's just how I am, I guess.
Sure, that makes sense. I guess from my philosophy or my thought process is like, I have a big project and I want to divvy out parts of it if I can. If I have pros do it and get them even faster, I'll do that, right? So just it's the time value of money too. So, but that's cool. That's awesome. So okay, so you shoot it for so you photographed how long did it take you to photograph it, and then a creating it's different, right? So you got creation, and you got actual like capturing the photos. How long? I'm just curious because you said it's 30 acres, 200 plus shots. How long did that take you? If you don't mind me asking, the photography portion.
It took, it's about 24 hours of work.
Okay, gotcha. So you just
it was spread between about 2 or 3 days.
Okay, gotcha. All right, great. That's what I kind of figured, something like that. Just because it's so big, and I guess it's kind of at your discretion how many photos you wanted to do. So did you kind of just drew a map and said, here's how I'm going to do it, or what was that kind of the plan, or did the marketing guy have a certain places he wanted to highlight, or how'd that go?
So what I did was, when I first started, I went through all the cathedrals and the wedding venues and areas on the park, and I did all of those. And then the next couple of days, we went out, and every 30 steps we took a scan, and that's how the majority of all of the road travel at the festival was.
Gotcha.
So I just knew in my head, the only thought I had about how the spacing went was, how far is too far for the next available link.
Yeah.
How far before you're like, oh man, where am I at now?
Yeah. That makes sense. That's cool. You just felt it out. You feel it out, right? So instead of having one of the 3 feet, which is ridiculous, you have it like, whatever makes sense. Like you don't need to see the parking lot every space, that's kind of silly, but you need to see the roads, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's really cool. That's great. Yeah. So you are, I guess now the virtual tour provider for the Texas Renaissance Festival, which is really cool. So here's my question. Are they gonna host that thing? Are you gonna charge a hosting fee so you can maintain this thing for those guys, or are you just $5K up front and that's it?
I should have charged the hosting fee to maintain it.
Yeah.
So I've watched your videos, and I know I love that advice that you give. And then I guess whenever I get in the moment, I don't know, I guess I get scared to offer it. And especially a big tour like that, and they're only available for 3 months. So I guess the hosting fee would have been much better to have one, for sure.
Makes sense. Every once in a while, you just got to add on some service element to that. Like, hey, I'll update it, change it, whatever you need to, but here's what it costs per month to do that, kind of deal. That's cool. I understand. You're trying to get a big project. Every once in a while, you don't want to overcomplicate the process. So I totally get that too. Well, cool. That's great. So when you delivered it, did you go in person or did you send a link? What do you think? What do you say? What was the overall feedback from the project?
They loved it. And actually, you can see the project right now if you go to TexasRenaissanceFestival.com.
Okay.
And there, I believe it's the map section. It says Walk the Kingdom.
Okay.
And you click on that and it'll take you straight to my tour.
Awesome. Walk the kingdom, baby. You are making kingdoms, building kingdoms, Colton. I love it, bro. That's really cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. So let's fast forward, but just kind of get a little more recent. You said, you messaged me before. You said you met with the city of Conroe. Tell me about this one, bro. How the heck did you get in front of them? What are they even thinking? City of Conroe is a much bigger entity than Texas Renaissance Festival. Even though that's a really cool deal, that's a really great project. This is what's upcoming next. So tell us a story about how you got in front of them and how that meeting went and what the heck they're going to use you for. Tell me.
Well, I got introduced to them because I was doing, I was doing some work for some businesses in Conroe.
Okay.
And my goal was to go down Main Street and talk to everybody there, talk to the theaters.
Cool.
And one thing led to the next, and a photograph came up that I edited, that I spent a lot of time editing, and they loved it. So I've had 3 people actually purchase canvas prints of it now. One of them is actually hanging in a Conroe business as we speak. And it got me introduced to Brett Hall, who is writing the city's cultural arts designation. So when the city wants to go after a designation from, I guess, the U.S. government to get more funding, and they're trying to get a cultural arts designation. I'm not exactly sure how all that works yet, but that lit a light bulb in my head, and I told them, hey, I might be able to help out with this, to give them a video that could display all of Conroe with all of your areas that would be, relevant to the cultural arts designation.
Cool.
So I built a small little tour showcasing one of the theaters and the plays, and it was a sky view over Main Street in Conroe.
Nice.
And you can see there, and you can see the photo I took, and it was a real simple thing. So I sent that out. Once again, they never viewed it. But I did get in contact with Frank Robinson, because one of the business owners that liked my photo gave me his information, and it took a while, but I just kept trying to get in touch with him, and then finally he gave me a meeting. I came in and they loved it, and so now
who's Frank?
The deal is he's going to set me.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
You go. Ask who you said. Frank Robinson. I didn't know who is that person in the story.
He's a downtown city manager.
Got it. Okay, city manager. Cool. And then you said you went in there and they loved it. So you got to show them that example drone photo. Was it a 360 photo, or what was the photo?
Yeah, it was a 360 drone photo, and basically what I did was I put hotspots above the different places that they would want to see in Conroe to showcase a little bit of the art side of Conroe. That way you can you see the theater, and you can click on the hotspot and then jump into the theater and explore what Conroe has to offer in that way.
Cool. So okay, really cool. So then you told this guy named Brett, who was seeking after this, like, I guess, grant or whatever you called it, and you decided, I guess, for free to go out and create this for him and then show it to him. Was that the kind of the philosophy or plan, or you just did it real quick, or give me some? I'm missing some points in between here. Yeah.
Well, so with Brett Hall, he was writing that, and I can't really. It was months ago, so I can't exactly remember the conversation particularly between me and him. But the tour I created technically was for the cultural arts designation.
Mm-hmm.
When I got in front of Frank Robinson, who was the downtown city manager, he was the one that got to actually view it.
Gotcha.
And loved it.
Got it. Okay.
Which
cool.
is, better person to be in front of either way, I believe, because I think Frank Robinson, I believe, he's writing the designation. I'm not sure how that works.
Okay, gotcha. So he writes the checks. He can make the choices, right? So he sees something cool, he can make a project for it and move forward pretty fast. Cool. That's awesome. Well, that's really neat. So then you got this. You had this meeting with Conroe. They had all these ideas. What'd you leave with? Where'd that take you? Where'd you end up with that meeting?
A lot of hope. Really nothing yet. Nothing in terms of actual business yet. It was the first meeting, me meeting Frank Robinson and then 2 other individuals.
Gotcha.
But he's going to be sending me a list of places that he wants to showcase in Conroe, and I think we're going to go from there. And then after I get that list, I'm going to give him an invoice of what I have to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, you want this showcase? No problem. Here's what it costs. That's cool. That's fantastic. Yeah. Listen, that government money, there's a lot of it. Okay, don't be shy with that. hit that one hard. That's okay. You're going to pay for it.
Frank, if you're watching this,
yeah, you're going to be responsible. Anyway. So he understands. We're all paying for that tour. Okay.
All right. Cool.
I'm just kidding. So I have a question. So I want to prod into something real quick that I heard you say earlier that I think is really valuable for the listeners. Okay. And you said you went downtown and you were talking to business owners, you want to see the theater, etc. When what does that mean? And then why did you decide to do that And then give me the mentality there behind like that process of going to make conversations and possible sales.
Well, I mean, just the income that I saw starting out, especially with the first business, jumping right on board. It all goes along with what I mentioned earlier about the downtown squares. So I know that all of the owners in downtown city of Conroe are very well involved with their businesses. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I can get, face to face with them a lot easier than me going to a shopping center and walking into, I guess, a corporate office, deal where they try to tell me, oh, well, I don't make any decisions. Mm-hmm. So the downtown areas are golden for this, and they love it.
Cool. So what was your, like, you put on your boots that day, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go talk to some folks. Exactly. What's the number in your head that you think, if I can make this many conversations, have this many knock on this many doors, I'll probably output this amount of revenue? What is that kind of go in your head at all? You have any math in your head that goes on, or where you just kind of go see what happens?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty well accepted at the very least 50% of the time. So 1 out of every 2 businesses, loves what I have to offer. And as long as that's there, I see on average about 345 per business, smaller business.
Great.
And then if they have a large area, we did a few restaurants. What are they called? We did 7 Leguas in Conroe. What's the one in Madisonville called? We did another one in Madisonville as well.
You're saying we? Who's with you there? What's the story?
My wife, but she doesn't want to be on the camera.
Okay. So that's the partner. That's the real brains behind the operation. Okay, got it.
Yeah, she does a lot of the work.
That's why I'm like, well, I don't know. Kept it simple. Meanwhile, his wife's like, I know exactly what we did. That's good.
Yeah, she fills in the gaps that are in my head for sure.
Cool. I understand that. I got one too. Well, cool. That's great. So I want people to kind of just for a moment pause here and like realize like what the thought process was. So go to a town center, like go to a local place that like where you can find business owners and have conversations, right? So it's like real basic stuff. Who can I talk to, right? If I can show them what I'm doing and talk about the benefits of it. So I showed a visual product. I talk about benefits. 50% of the time, I get people that are pretty excited about it. And I can most likely, not always, but most likely from that 50%, get a $345 per location check to create 360 virtual tours for them. Real simple process, real simple, repeatable. It sounds like to me, right. And especially in the small business world, like you're looking at properties that are probably all the same size, not too much work. It's a repeatable deal as well. Are you photographing same day or coming back later? What's your typical selling one day, shooting one day? What's your typical thing?
It just depends on the day, really. Some days I'll have the camera with me, and it depends on the size of the business and how many other people I want to talk to. Yeah. If I have, quite a few, like 3 or 4, say that they would like a tour, I won't be doing them that same day. I'll go back home and plan out when I'll be coming by to take the photos.
Yeah, cool. I've heard so many folks like similar story. Like I just walk in the door, have a conversation, and if I do that enough times in a row, I can just basically, I don't want to say print money. That's not a good way to put it about it, but I have a predictable revenue stream, right? So if I can find the locations and find the small business owners, like then I can find revenue there. So if you're wondering, should I do this business? What should I do? Don't overthink it. Model what Colton is doing. He's walking in the door, small business owners. He's getting some wins, figuring out how to get those wins. So his confidence is super high when he gets in front of that big project like Texas Renaissance Festival or City of Conroe, and also acknowledging the things that he doesn't know. So he tells Texas Renaissance Festival, sir, I don't know what astronomical means. Like that's a humble, honest way to go about talking about that's the truth. Like it's okay to be honest. Like first thing I learned, this is many years ago now, but as I was an account manager for this large oil and gas sales organization. And the first thing I tell you is like, don't pretend you know something you don't know. Like if you don't know, just say you don't know, and I think that's okay, because I was selling to people that are way smarter than me, so I would just tell them, hey, what do you need? Let's talk about what you're trying to do. And if I don't know that question, I'll figure it out. I'll go find out, that's good. That's really good insight. I think there's a lot of small things folks can pick up from this. So I'm going to give you a second here to kind of maybe encourage the folks that are out there who are maybe feel stuck or they're lost in which camera to buy, which is a waste of your time, how to edit the photos perfectly, which is, you can get lost in that forever. What is the next marketing channel to buy advertising on or whatever. There's a lot of stuff that you can get lost in. If you had to distill this business down for folks that are getting started, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, get yourself a camera, whether, any camera, DSLR, the wide angle lens, or Insta360 is what I started with. And that's the bottom of the tier there. And it was very well enough for these businesses to use, to advertise their business. It's very simple. It's a very simple business model. You show them what you got, and that's pretty much it. There's not much, no sales in it at all. You just walk in, like you said, you just talk to them, say, hey, I'm new around here, doing some work for some businesses, and this is what I have to offer. This is what you can use it for. And I think the most important thing is to believe that yourself, that what you're offering is of value to them, and which I wholeheartedly do. I think at $300 to have a piece of advertising that's usable for as long as they want to use it, I think that's a great offer.
Yep. A no-brainer. That's awesome. So I'm gonna pull out some of what I see as the gold. Okay. Cause people like actionable stuff. Okay. So like, here's one thing that Colton said earlier was, hey, I'm new here. So he walks in the door, says, hey, I'm new here. He probably says that just naturally. So you think, oh, I don't do when he's selling, but you just naturally a salesperson. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the deal. All right. Hey, I'm new here. That's a good way to frame who you are. You got to frame who you are. Also, too, you say, I'm doing some 360 photography. So you say the word photographer, you say the word photography. Why is that an important word? Because it's a familiar word. People are familiar with what that is. They can now go, okay, this guy's new here. Here's kind of his world, his vertical of the world, but his unique because he's offering me 360. Okay, that's interesting. It looks neat, I guess. But what's it help me? Which you said a moment ago, which you said it kind of twice in different ways. You said you can put it on your website. Here's an embeddable code. You can also get it on a street view, which it's what you said. You made it real simple. That's what I like. The more stuff you give Google, the more they're going to show you. Or you said the more you show Google, the more they're going to show you. I think it's what you said. Is that what you said? Something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I love that. If you're watching the interview right now and you're wondering, what do I say? Just say that. Just keep it real simple. Like, you show Google, the more they're going to show you. Do you want to get shown by Google?
Right.
They're going to go, yes, I do. How much does it cost? And $345, done deal. Let's go. I can go write you a check right now. Use it forever. Done. Got it. So like, this is just like basic stuff, right? But it's good for folks, Colton, because they don't know, like, people, you'd be surprised. They don't know what do I say? What do I start? And you figured this out because you did a couple of them, messed it up a little bit, probably stumbled over your words, because that's what we all do when we start. And then you kind of figured out a repeatable process. And now it's like breathing to you, right? It's easy.
Yeah. I just walk in and talk to them.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. You do that. But I'll say this. If you tell people, hey, walk in and talk to them, they're going to say what to them? What do I say? So I'm trying to put a little bit of meat on those bones, I guess, if you know what I mean.
It's best when it's organic. So I guess the more you know about what you're doing, the simpler it becomes to showcase what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And at first, when you're starting out, you may get stuck or just stumble over your tongue, but really your phone is your best friend or tablet is your best friend. It's like, oh, well, we'll just take a look. This is what I do. That's basically what I do whenever, if they get a blank face when I start talking about, 3D tours or 360 images, maybe they're not very familiar with that kind of stuff. I live out here in the country and in Centerville, Texas. And I've seen that face a few times. And the best thing to do is like, oh yeah, this is what I created, for your neighbor. This is a tour that I created for this
Perfect.
restaurant down the street.
Yep. Perfect. I love that. The blank face, beware of the blank face. Okay. If you see someone's eyes glaze over.
It's easy enough to say it like in the video, me and you talking about it, because I recognize the difference now. Because like whenever I watch videos of people talking about like what you talk about, so you can talk about the blank face, you'll know it when you see it. When
Yep.
you start doing this, you'll start recognizing it whenever they're looking at you like,
What?
okay, I'm not catching up to what you're telling me, or I don't fully understand. It's very apparent.
Yeah. That's a huge piece of advice for people, man. Like, be aware of if you get somebody in that state, like slow down, go back, show an example. Like he's saying, your phone, your tablet's your best friend. And that moment, hey, let me show you. Okay, well, yeah, show me what are you talking about? Because they're about to tell you to leave. And once they get to the blank face, like they're about to say, hey, I'm busy, I gotta go. So
Yeah.
yeah. That's cool. That's cool. I love that. That's cool. I think we've had a lot of really good insight in the interview. I love it. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to check out your example of the Renaissance Festival. I'm excited that you're going to get the whole city of Conroe to pay you. Hopefully this guy named Frank likes you. And then, yeah, man, and your journey, obviously we appreciate you showing off examples and Cloud Piano, et cetera, as well. And, Facebook group's fun. There's a lot of folks in there from all over walks of life. So you gotta be careful. So if you're out there wondering, what is Facebook group? It's Virtual Tour Profit. The software we use is called Cloud Piano. I'm the co-founder of Cloud Piano. That's why I talk about it. And Colton is one of our success stories and users who's been doing it for a while now. And sounds like he's got a lot of cool stuff you got working on. So that's really great. So I'm excited to connect more and hear more about it in the future.
Yes, sir. And if anybody's out there watching this video that needs to find someone to do a 3D tour, you can find us at cavetech360.com.
Got it. Great. Well, I'll add that in the end of the
shameless plug.
Cool. All right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, guys. Hey, you all have a good day. I'll see you later. I'll post this interview later. All right, bro. I'll see you later.